And he had a very elegant book, The Ancient Library at Qumran, written in the 50s, which I followed as the Bible until I started teaching things myself and saw the weaknesses in what he was presenting. He was a scholar of the Old Testament. 10th century BC was his specialty, the Canaanite period. He wrote a book, I think, called Yahweh and the Gods of Canaan. But in any case, he was very big in that old period way back then. But he didn't, mind you, know a lot about Christian origins. He didn't connect this to Christian origins at all. So he was interested in paleography and things like that. So he came up with the theory that the reason that the Maccabees that the priests are viewed this way is because they thought the Maccabees had usurped the high priesthood. Well, this book says they didn't think that the Maccabees had usurped the high priesthood. And that's all from him, that idea that they usurped the high priesthood. It's not written anywhere. No Jew thinks that. Josephus doesn't even think that. He's very proud, he's got Maccabean blood, he's very proud of his Maccabean blood. Now, there are people who are not considered legitimate priests, and those are from the Herodian period, but not in this period. I have to just do one other thing. There are people, by the way, who won't fight on the Sabbath. In any case, soon they are joined, line 42, by a community of Hasideans, 1S, stout fighting men, each a volunteer on the side of the law. And they organized an armed force, striking down sinners in their anger and the renegades in their fury. They overthrew the altar and forcibly circumcised all boys they found uncircumcised in the territories of Israel. Now this is pretty extreme, but this is Hasideans, and we're going to have a different view of this as we go on here. Finally, in Matthias' last will and testament, he once more talks about Phinehas, line 54. Phinehas, our father, in return for his burning zeal, received the covenant of the everlasting priesthood. Now that's up to you. But before you go, one last thing. Look at Maccabees 2. Maccabees 2 is not a second continuation of Maccabees 1. It's a parallel book. And its view of the history is different. Maccabees 2 starts with a letter from Jerusalem to the Jews in Egypt, proclaiming Hanukkah as a new festival of tabernacles, moved, line 9, to the month of Kislev. The reason Hanukkah has 8 days is because it's a festival of tabernacles that's been moved to Kislev. I'm going to pick this up next time. But the point here is that in this epitome that we have here, there is no Mattathias. There's a previous high priest, and then there is Judas. And then this book ends before Judas dies. This book is not interested in the Maccabean family. It's not interested in all the descendants of Mattathias. Maccabees 1 is a family history. Maccabees 2 is a messianic zealot history of Judas only. And the point is that Maccabees 1 is legitimatizing all the Maccabees. So there may be some issues there, but notice one interesting note here. 2:13 in Maccabees 2. In addition to the above, it was recorded both in the archives and the memoirs of Nehemiah, how he founded a library and made a collection of the books dealing with the kings and prophets. In the same way, Judas made a complete collection of the books dispersed in the late war, and these we still have, writing to the Jews in Egypt. And if you need them, send someone to fetch copies for them, of them. What it says here, first of all, we'll talk about it more next time, is that Nehemiah collected the Bible as we know it. That was scattered in the wars that we had in the last 2 centuries. Judas recollected the materials. So the Jewish Bible as we know it is actually dependent upon or a product of Judas Maccabee according to this presentation. Do I believe that? I think there's a lot to recommend that, but we'll pick up that next time. Sorry to keep you late. I won't keep going. I think I will anyway.
20 seconds left.
Sorry, I do apologize. We should have finished.
On-site.
I know you want to get out of here.
Go down to the 30-yard line.